So forgive me, but I'm sending out a message into cyberspace, rather like one of the pioneer craft that was sent out in the 1970s and had a plaque with, yes, a white man and woman, European in appearance, reinforcing heterosexuality, but to let extraterrestrials out there know that supposedly the human race exists, right? Men and women. Pardon the joke. I mean, I have a hamburger cushion in the background. You can't take everything I say seriously. But I just want to know, are there other trans academics in Australia? At Australian universities? I mean academics. I totally respect and love my trans and gender diverse, including non-binary colleagues who are professional staff, and maybe even people who are pretty much non-binary but not involved in social or medical transition and or medical transition. I just don't know anyone that's trans in that sense. I see a lot of people who are allies and who are supportive or let us know about their pronouns, for example. And I consider myself to be trans and non-binary, but also involved in transition. So in that sense, from one side to the other, right? Not to get too pushy on the definitions, but in other countries, including Canada, to which Australia is most often compared, there are tens of openly trans, here's the key word, openly trans scholars who work on diverse topics of research, but some of whom are actually hired because of their expertise as scholars in trans studies. This hasn't really happened in any thoroughgoing fashion in Australia. So at the end of this quite long day, looking tired, I just want to send out to cyberspace a kind of beeping message. Are you out there? Kind of like the pioneer craft and that plaque. Forgive the irony in the comparison. But I'd like to know, right? Years ago, Jillian Weiss, the New Jersey-based, I think she was at the time, trans legal studies scholar, Pomona College? Could be wrong about that. She actually, well, there used to be a bulletin board called Trans Academics. I think it was based in the UK. She put out a call for, kind of a register, not for surveillance purposes, for example, in the Trump administration, which would be horrifying, but for us to get to know each other. And I remember her asking, what about down there, down under? And at that time, and that's going back maybe 15 years, I couldn't come up with that many names. Obviously, there's Reverend Connell. She's retired. She's an emerita professor. Much respect, but she's not in the academy. Presently, she's not part of the workings of an institution, navigating institutional life. There's also Mackenzie Walk, but to my knowledge, she is not based here in Australia. And also there's the fact that some people have come out and transitioned when they're full professors, which I'm not. So anyway, not to beat around the bush, but sending the signal out there, calling occupants of interplanetary trans institutional life craft. Do you exist in Australia? Make yourself known. You can always write to me. Just look up my name, Vek Lewis, VEKLEWIS. You'll find me. You can find me. Right out there in the outer reaches. Get in touch. It'd be nice to get to know who else there is. Of course, there are some PhD students, as far as I know, but I mean people who are, to use US-based language, tenured lecturers, not necessarily professors, of course, and not necessarily people who say that they're she, they, and basically embrace being non-binary. I mean people who re-embody themselves socially and sometimes medically, that have particular kinds of perspectives within the academic environment, and from which maybe their work proceeds. I mean, not all of my work does, but certainly a substantial amount does. We have perspectives, we theorize from our particular interesting locations, not just based on being trans, of course. Um, yeah, anyway, that's it. I just want to put the message out there. Far and wide, across this great brown land, Indigenous scholars as well, trans, you know, send me a message.